Chapter 1: The Night of Birth. The storm raged across the land as though the heavens themselves were at war. Snow fell in furious sheets, burying the roofs of the poor wooden huts clustered at the edge of the black forest. Wind howled like wolves in mourning, rattling shutters and snapping branches. No villager dared step outside, for it was a night that seemed touched by something unholy. Yet within a single hut, a woman labored to bring forth a child. The fire had burned low, casting shadows that stretched like long fingers across the walls. 3 midwives stood around the bed, whispering prayers under their breath. The woman, pale with exhaustion, let out a final cry, and the infant slipped into the world. At once the midwives gasped and drew back. For beneath the thin skin of the child's chest there glowed a faint, silver light. It pulsed softly, steadily, like molten metal alive within her tiny ribs. The hut filled with its strange radiance, driving shadows from every corner. The mother, though weak, reached out and gathered the infant into her arms. She saw the glow and felt dread coil in her stomach, yet she pressed her lips to the child's brow. "Elsbeth," she whispered. "You are my light." One midwife crossed herself and muttered, "This is not natural." Another shook her head. "It is a witch's mark. Such a child will bring ruin." The third, Wolder and Kinder, laid a hand upon the mother's arm. "Hide it," she said softly. "Hide the glow, or the village will tear her from you." The mother nodded through her tears. She wrapped the infant tightly in cloth, concealing the silver light. But as the storm shrieked outside, the midwives knew that no secret, however tightly bound, could remain hidden forever. Chapter 2: Whispers in the Village. The years turned slowly in the village at the edge of the Black Forest. Winters were cruel, summers thin with harvest, and the people lived from season to season in hardship. They had little room for joy, and even less for anything that smacked of strangeness. Elsbeth grew among them like a pale flower in stony soil. She was quieter than other children, her hair dark as crow feathers, her skin pale as milk. Though her mother bound her in thick dresses to hide the glow, it could not always be concealed. At night, when Elsbeth lay restless in her cot, a faint shimmer leaked through the seams of her clothing, lighting the room with a ghostly radiance. The children of the village noticed first. When they played by the river bank or in the dusty square, they whispered behind their hands. "She has the heart of silver," one boy murmured. "No," said another, eyes wide with fear, "it is not silver, it is fire stolen from the sky. She is cursed." They dared each other to touch her, as if her skin might burn. Sometimes they threw pebbles when they thought no one was looking. Other times they simply scattered, leaving her to stand alone in the dirt, staring after them with eyes that held more sorrow than tears could ever carry. The elders watched her too. The priest frowned each time she entered the chapel. The blacksmith muttered that his furnace burned lower when she passed. The farmers swore their cows gave less milk if Elsbeth walked by the fields. Her mother, weary but unyielding, defended her at every turn. "She is no witch," she cried. "She is my child, God's own creation." Yet her words carried little weight against hunger and superstition. One year, a sickness fell upon the crops. Wheat withered before it ripened, and potatoes rotted in the ground. The villagers grew gaunt and hollow-eyed. Around their fires at night, they whispered of omens, of curses, of why fortune had turned against them. Again and again, their eyes slid toward the small cottage where Elsbeth and her mother lived. The whispers deepened into fear, and fear hardened into hatred. Elsbeth herself felt it. She saw it in the way doors closed when she walked by, in the way even her childhood friend hesitated to meet her eyes. A loneliness heavy as stone pressed upon her, though she said nothing. One evening, as the sun bled red across the horizon, her mother found her standing at the threshold of the woods. "Child," she said softly, "why do you stand there?" Elsbeth's voice was quiet. "Because the trees do not turn away from me." Her mother's heart broke at those words. She gathered Elsbeth close, though she trembled, for even a mother's arms could not shield a child forever from the judgment of a fearful world. And in the silence between them, the whispers of the village grew louder than the howl of the forest wolves. Chapter 3: The Mother's Plea. The winter that followed was the harshest in living memory. Snow clung heavy upon the roofs, fields lay frozen beneath a sheet of glassy ice, and the river stiffened into silence. Smoke rose thinly from chimneys, for there was little wood left to burn. In the heart of this cruel season, hunger gnawed at the bellies of the villagers. The storehouses emptied, and what little grain remained was guarded fiercely. Mothers pressed their lips against crying infants, unable to give them milk. Old men wasted away by the hearths, their hands trembling with weakness. When famine walks beside a man, it carries suspicion in its shadow. Whispers of Elsbeth, once quiet, now rose into voices of anger. "Since the day she was born, nothing has gone well," spat the miller's wife. "She is the reason the harvest rotted," growled the blacksmith. "She bears a heart not of flesh, but of silver," hissed another, "and silver belongs not to man but to demons." The people gathered more and more often in the square, huddling against the cold, not only to share food but to share their fears. And always, the name of Elsbeth lingered on their lips. Inside her humble cottage, Elsbeth sat by the fire, weaving scraps of cloth into a doll. Her face was calm, though her eyes flickered now and then to the door, as though she could feel the weight of the villagers' hatred pressing against the walls. The silver glow beneath her chest shimmered faintly, as if restless. Her mother, once strong, was thinner now, her cheeks hollow, her hands cracked from labor and cold. Yet her spirit did not bend. She stood before the council of elders one bitter night, wrapped in a shawl patched a dozen times. "My daughter is not to blame," she pleaded. "She is as God made her. Would you condemn a child for the shape of her hand, or the color of her hair? Then why condemn her for the light of her heart?" The elders stirred uneasily. One old man tugged at his beard. "It is not a matter of shape or color. Her heart is not flesh. Flesh is mortal. Silver is not. What lives in her is not of this world." "She is a curse," muttered another. "Since her birth, we have known no peace." Her mother raised her voice, fierce despite her trembling. "Have we not known famine before? Have wolves not taken sheep long before my child's first breath? You search for someone to blame, and you choose the one too young to defend herself." For a moment, silence filled the hall. The fire cracked, casting long shadows upon the walls. Some lowered their eyes, ashamed. But hunger is a cruel master, and fear sharper still. One woman stood and cried out, "If she is innocent, let her prove it. Let her heart be seen by all. If it shines with God's light, then we shall fall to our knees in repentance. But if it glows with the fire of hell, then let us cast her into the forest, where all evil belongs." The crowd murmured in agreement. The judgment had been spoken, though not yet carried out. Chapter 4: The Betrayal. Winter dragged on without mercy. The snow did not soften, nor did the ice thaw. The villagers' food was nearly gone, and desperation made them cruel. In such times, faith turned to superstition, and superstition to violence. Elsbeth felt it in every glance that cut across her when she walked through the village square. She heard it in the sudden silence when she passed. Even her oldest companion, a boy named Martin, had grown distant. Once they had played together by the riverbank, shared apples stolen from the orchard, and whispered secrets in the hayloft. But now, when she greeted him, he gave only a nervous smile and looked away. Her mother urged her to stay close to home. "Do not wander," she said. "The forest is safer than the people, these days." But hunger twists even friendship. And in Martin's house, the cupboards were bare, and his little sister cried from thirst. His parents murmured that the famine would not end until the girl with the silver heart was gone. One night, when the moon was sharp as a blade in the sky, the elders came to Martin's home. They pressed him with questions, voices low but urgent. "You have been near her. You know her better than any. Tell us the truth, does her chest glow as they say?" Martin trembled, torn between loyalty and fear. He remembered the glow faint as candlelight beneath her ribs, when once she had fallen asleep beside the fire. He remembered the warmth of it, the strange beauty, and how it made him shiver. He remembered too his mother's hollow cheeks, his father's desperate eyes. At last, in a voice that quavered like a branch in the wind, he said, "Yes. It is true." By dawn, the news had spread through every hut. The girl's secret was no longer secret. The mob came at sunrise. They pounded upon the door of Elsbeth's cottage, voices like a storm. Her mother thrust Elsbeth behind her, arms spread wide. "She is my child. You will not take her." But the villagers surged forward. Rough hands dragged Elsbeth into the snow. Her mother clawed at them, screaming, but one of the men struck her with the haft of a staff. She crumpled to the ground, her cry cut short. "Witch," someone shouted. "Demon," cried another. "The famine will end when she is gone." Elsbeth's heart glowed brighter in her terror, silver light spilling from her chest. The crowd recoiled for an instant, then pressed closer, enraged by what they saw. Martin stood at the edge of the mob, his face pale. He could not meet her eyes as she was dragged away. The villagers did not burn her, fire might only spread her curse, they said. Instead, they bound her hands and drove her toward the forest's edge. Spears prodded her forward. She stumbled through the snow, her breath ragged, until the trees loomed dark and endless before her. "Go," the elder commanded. "Go, and never return. If you set foot in this village again, we will cut your silver heart from your breast and scatter the pieces." They cut her bonds. Chapter 5: The Witch of Bones. The black forest swallowed Elsbeth like the jaws of a beast. The trees loomed taller than any spire, their branches twisted and thick with snow. Darkness pressed close, and the wind hissed between the trunks like whispers in a tongue older than men. She walked until her legs burned, guided only by the faint silver glow from her chest. It lit her path in ghostly shades, painting every branch and drift of snow in eerie light. Yet for all her weariness, she did not dare stop. Behind her lay betrayal and banishment. Ahead lay, she did not know what. By the third night, hunger gnawed at her belly. Her lips were cracked from thirst, and her thin dress offered little warmth. She stumbled and fell, snow filling her mouth, and for a moment she longed simply to sink into it and let the cold claim her. But then, through the blur of her vision, she saw a faint red glow between the trees. Not the silver of her heart, but firelight. Elsbeth staggered toward it, branches tearing at her skin. At last she came upon a clearing, and there stood a hut unlike any she had ever seen. Its walls were made not of timber, but of bones, ribs for beams, skulls for windows, femurs stacked like logs. The roof was thatched with wiry black hair, and the chimney belched smoke that smelled of burning herbs and bitter roots. Fear froze her where she stood. Yet warmth and the promise of food drew her nearer. She raised a trembling hand and knocked upon the bonewood door. It creaked open by itself. Inside, the hut was dim, lit by candles set in hollowed skulls. Strange charms dangled from the rafters, teeth strung on cords, feathers smeared with ash, dolls woven from twigs. At the far end sat a woman hunched over a cauldron. Her skin was wrinkled as bark, her hair wild and matted, and her eyes gleamed like coals. "So," the witch rasped, her voice dry as autumn leaves, "the child with the silver heart comes at last." Elsbeth froze. You know me?" The witch cackled, a sound like bones rattling. "The forest told me. It whispers of all who walk beneath its boughs. I have waited many years for you." Elsbeth's fear grew heavier. "I do not know why I am here. I was cast out. I have nowhere to go." The witch rose, her crooked form towering. She circled Elsbeth, peering at the glow beneath her ribs. Her gnarled fingers reached out, not touching, but close enough for the girl to feel the cold of them. "Ah, such a treasure," the witch hissed. "A heart of silver, pulsing with power. Do you even know what you carry, child?" Elsbeth shook her head. "It is no curse," said the witch, "but a gift stolen from the heavens. With such a heart, one could command life and death, bind spirits, even shape the fate of kingdoms. But it does not belong to you. No mortal should carry it." Elsbeth's hands trembled. "Then, what am I?" The witch's grin widened, showing blackened teeth. "A vessel. Nothing more. Your life is but the wrapping around a jewel too." Chapter 6: The Silver Trial. The witch's hut breathed with darkness. Its walls of bone seemed to shift in the candlelight, as though they longed to whisper secrets of the dead. Outside, the black forest groaned in the wind, branches scraping against one another like claws. Elsbeth woke at dawn, though no sun reached this clearing. Her chest glowed faintly, silver light rising and falling with her breath. The witch was already awake, crouched beside the cauldron, muttering to herself in a tongue that made Elsbeth's skin crawl. "You slept," the witch rasped without turning. "That is good. You will need your strength." "For what?" Elsbeth asked, her voice unsteady. The witch turned, her coal-bright eyes narrowing. "For your trial." She beckoned, and Elsbeth followed her outside. Snow crunched beneath their feet as they entered the clearing. The witch raised her staff, a crooked branch capped with a skull, and struck it against the ground. The earth shuddered. The snow split open, and from the dark soil rose 3 figures. They were made of bones, bound with sinew, hollow eyes burning with pale fire. Each clutched a weapon, one a rusted sword, another a broken spear, the last a jagged axe. Elsbeth staggered back in terror. "What are they?" "Shadows of men," the witch said. "Once hunters, now servants. To claim your heart as your own, you must face them. If you fail, your silver will be mine." Elsbeth shook her head. "I cannot fight, I am no warrior." The witch's laugh was sharp as breaking glass. "A heart of silver makes you more than mortal. But only if you prove worthy. Choose, child, fight, or surrender." Elsbeth's fear churned into something harder. She thought of the villagers who cast her out, of Martin's silence, of her mother's broken cry. She thought of her heart glowing against the snow as they drove her into the forest. "I will fight," she whispered. The bone warriors lurched forward. The one with the sword swung down at her, its blade shrieking through the air. Elsbeth flung up her hands to shield herself. At that moment, the silver light within her burst outward. A wave of radiance swept across the clearing. The sword shattered to dust. The bone warrior staggered, its hollow skull cracking. Elsbeth stared in shock at her glowing hands. The witch's grin widened. "Good. Again." The second warrior lunged with its spear. This time Elsbeth focused, summoning the glow that pulsed within her chest. Silver fire flowed into her arm, and when she struck out, the spear snapped like a twig. The warrior collapsed into a heap of bones. Only the axe-bearer remained. It came at her with a howl of wind through hollow ribs. Elsbeth faltered, the weight of fear pressing down. Her light flickered. The axe rose. And in that instant, she heard the voice again, the one from her dreams. "You are not a vessel. You are the key." Strength surged through her. She thrust her hand forward, and a spear of silver light shot from her palm, piercing. Chapter 7: The Mirror of Truth. That night, the forest was so still it seemed to be holding its breath. No wolf howled, no owl called. Only the whisper of snow falling from the branches broke the silence. Elsbeth sat by the fire in the witch's hut, her hands still faintly glowing from the trial. She stared into the flames, shaken by what she had done and by what she had felt. The power had not only frightened her. It had thrilled her. The witch watched her from the shadows, eyes gleaming like hot coals. At last she rose and beckoned. "Come, child. It is time you see the truth of yourself." Elsbeth hesitated. "The truth?" "A silver heart does not beat without purpose," the witch said. "It is no mere accident. You carry within you a fate older than kingdoms. You must face it, or it will devour you." She led Elsbeth into a back chamber of the hut, darker than any night. The walls here were hung with skins painted in strange symbols, and the air reeked of iron and smoke. At the far end stood an object draped in black cloth. The witch pulled it away. It was a mirror tall as a man, framed with blackened wood carved in the shapes of writhing serpents. But its surface was not glass. It rippled like water, dark and deep, swallowing the light of Elsbeth's glow. "The mirror of truth," the witch whispered. "It shows not who you are, but who you may become." Elsbeth's heart pounded. She stepped closer, silver light spilling into the mirror. The surface quivered, then cleared. At first she saw herself, a girl thin and pale, her eyes wide with fear. But then the image shifted. She saw herself crowned in silver, standing over a burning city. Flames licked the sky, and her heart blazed so brightly it blinded those who looked upon her. People knelt in the ashes, worshipping and trembling, while others fled screaming. Her hands dripped with blood, and her eyes were cold as moonlight. Elsbeth staggered back. "No, this is not me." The witch's voice hissed from behind. "It is one path." The mirror rippled again. Now she saw another vision, herself older, wrapped in a cloak of white, her hands healing the sick, her silver light falling like gentle rain over withered fields. Crops sprang up, children laughed, the weak rose strong. People followed her not with fear, but with love. Elsbeth's chest ached. "I can choose this, can I not? I can choose the good?" The witch's laugh was low and bitter. "Can one choose the river's course, child? Or does the river carve its way, no matter the will of the drop within it?" Elsbeth turned to her, desperate. "Tell me. Am I meant for ruin or salvation?" The witch's face was unreadable, her coal eyes burning. "You are meant for both. For every gift carries its shadow. The brighter the light, the deeper the darkness it casts." Elsbeth's hands trembled. She wanted to strike the mirror, to shatter the visions, but she could not look away. The faces of those who knelt before her. Some in worship, some in terror. Chapter 8: The Mother's Ghost. The night after the mirror of truth, Elsbeth could not sleep. She lay upon the furs, eyes open, listening to the hiss of the fire and the slow rasp of the witch's breath. The visions from the mirror gnawed at her mind, the crown, the blood, the cries of the people. At last she rose and stepped outside. The forest loomed silent, black trunks piercing the snow. Her breath smoked in the air. The silver glow from her heart shone faintly, casting long shadows. She wandered without knowing why, her feet crunching over frozen roots, until she reached a clearing she did not remember passing before. There, in the moonlight, stood a figure. Her breath caught. It was her mother. The woman's hair was loose about her shoulders, her shawl ragged, her face pale as frost. Yet her eyes were full of love, the same eyes that had once looked upon Elsbeth by the fire in their humble cottage. "Mother," Elsbeth whispered, tears stinging her eyes. "Is it truly you?" The figure smiled sadly. "My child. My light." Elsbeth stumbled forward, reaching out, but her hand passed through the figure as though through smoke. Coldness bit her skin. "You are a ghost," Elsbeth breathed. Her mother nodded. "I linger, for my love is stronger than death. But I am bound to sorrow, for I could not protect you." Tears spilled down Elsbeth's cheeks. "It was not your fault. They hated me, they feared me." Her mother's gaze fell to the silver glow in Elsbeth's chest. "And they were right to fear. This heart will lead you to greatness, but greatness walks hand in hand with ruin. You must be careful, my child. You must learn to master it, or it will master you." Elsbeth trembled. "But I do not want greatness. I want only to be yours. To be loved." Her mother's voice softened, tender and sorrowful. "You are loved. Even in death, I love you. But love alone cannot guide you now. You stand between two paths, one of mercy, one of destruction. The mirror has shown you what may come. You must choose, and soon." The ghost's form began to waver, the edges dissolving like mist. "Wait!" Elsbeth cried. "Do not leave me yet. Tell me, what must I do?" Her mother's fading voice whispered. "Listen to the silver. It will speak to you in the hour of need. But beware the hand that would claim it for their own." The last words curled away into the wind, and the figure was gone. Only the silent trees remained, their branches clawing at the moon. Elsbeth fell to her knees in the snow, sobbing. The glow of her heart flickered wildly, pulsing in rhythm with her grief. From the shadows at the edge of the clearing, two coal-bright eyes watched the witch, silent, smiling faintly. She had not needed to summon the ghost. The dead had come on their own. Chapter 9: The Return of the Villagers. Winter at last began to break. The snow melted into rivulets, and the first timid shoots of green pushed through the soil. Yet famine still clung to the village, gaunt and merciless. The people grew desperate once more. It was then that the whispers returned, whispers of the girl with the silver heart. Some said the forest had taken her. Others swore she lived still, her glow haunting the woods like a wandering spirit. And one night, in the square, an elder spoke words that bound their fate. If she yet lives, she holds the key to our salvation. Or our destruction. Either way, we must find her. So they gathered in a grim procession, carrying torches and blades. Men, women, even children trudged into the black forest, fear and hunger sharpening their resolve. At their head walked Martin, his eyes shadowed with guilt. Days they searched, following faint glimmers through the trees, until at last they came upon the clearing where the hut of bones stood. Smoke curled from its chimney. The sight filled them with dread. "Here," whispered the elder. "Here the witch keeps her." They advanced, torches high, their breath steaming in the cold. Inside, Elsbeth sat before the fire. She felt them before she saw them, the weight of many footsteps, the hiss of whispered curses. Her heart began to glow brighter, warning her. The witch lifted her head, smiling thinly. "The world comes knocking, child. Will you open the door?" Elsbeth rose, trembling. She stepped outside. The villagers halted, their torches flickering in the night. For there she stood, taller than when they had cast her out, her eyes glowing faintly, her chest blazing with silver light. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Some fell to their knees in fear. Others raised their weapons higher. The elder's voice rang out. "Child of silver, we come to end the curse you laid upon us." Elsbeth's voice was steady, though sorrow weighed upon it. "I laid no curse. You cast me away. You struck my mother down. And now you come again, not with mercy, but with hate." Martin stepped forward, his torch shaking in his hand. His eyes met hers at last. "Elsbeth, forgive me. I spoke the truth, but I betrayed you. I thought only of my family, and I was weak." Her heart pulsed, silver light sweeping across the clearing. "And now you would betray me again?" "No," he whispered. "Now I would stand beside you. If you will let me." The crowd murmured, torn between fear and hope. The witch's laughter broke the silence, harsh as cracking bone. She emerged from the hut, staff in hand. "Fools! You think you can claim her now? She is mine. Her heart beats with a power you cannot fathom. And with it, I will rule all things." The villagers shrank back, but Elsbeth turned on the witch, her eyes blazing. "I am not yours. I am not a vessel. I am myself." The witch raised her staff, and shadows boiled from the ground. The villagers cried out, some fleeing, others brandishing. Chapter 10: The Silver Heart's Fate. The clearing erupted in chaos. Shadows writhed from the ground at the witch's command, forming twisted shapes with clawed hands and hollow eyes. The villagers screamed, stumbling back, their torches sputtering in the unnatural wind. Elsbeth stood at the center, her silver glow pulsing brighter than ever before. She felt her heart hammering, as if each beat was not only her own but the world's. The witch's voice tore through the night. "Give it to me, child. The heart is wasted in you. With it, I will break kingdoms and bind death itself." Elsbeth's eyes narrowed. "You will have nothing. Not my heart. Not my soul." The witch raised her staff. The shadows surged toward Elsbeth. For a heartbeat she faltered, then the words of her mother's ghost rang in her ears. "Listen to the silver. It will speak to you in the hour of need." She drew a deep breath. The glow within her swelled, blinding, pouring through her veins until her whole body was a vessel of light. She raised her hands, and the silver burst forth. The shadows shrieked as the radiance touched them, unraveling into smoke. One by one they withered, until only the witch remained, her face twisted in fury. "You dare defy me," she hissed. You are nothing but a vessel. I am not a vessel, Elsbeth said, her voice ringing like a bell of iron. I am the heart itself. She pressed her hands to her chest, and the silver light surged outward in a torrent. It struck the witch, wrapping her in brilliance. The old crone shrieked, clawing at her own skin, as her bones rattled and her staff splintered. In a flash, her body crumbled to ash, scattered by the wind. Silence fell. The villagers stood trembling, staring at Elsbeth. Her glow had not dimmed. It blazed even stronger now, casting long, sharp shadows. Martin stepped forward slowly, eyes wide with awe and fear. Elsbeth! You saved us! She looked at him, sorrow in her gaze. Did I? Or have I only shown you what I truly am? The elder bowed low, voice shaking. Forgive us. We cast you out, and yet you spared us. Return, child of silver. Be our guardian. Elsbeth's heart ached. She longed for home, for her mother's arms, for the laughter of the children who once had shunned her. Yet she knew that the mirror's prophecy still lingered, salvation and destruction walked beside her. If she stayed, they would worship her today but fear her tomorrow. And fear, she knew, was a seed that always grew into hatred. She shook her head slowly. I cannot return. My path lies beyond these woods. A murmur rose among the villagers, grief, relief, fear. Martin's voice was soft. Where will you go? Elsbeth lifted her face to the sky, where the first stars pierced the night. Where the silver leads me. Perhaps to heal, perhaps to burn. But I will walk the path as my own. Her glow flared one last time, bright as a fallen star. The villagers shielded their eyes. When the light faded, she was gone, vanished in.